Love under the scope.
Welcome back to Love Under the Scope. This is a podcast where we will get into all of the ups and downs, the nitty-gritty of being in a long-term relationship and the realities of that, of being with another human being as your life partner. It can get tricky sometimes, and it certainly is so fulfilling. Such a beautiful way to fill our lives is to enjoy it with our partner. And yet sometimes it can be difficult to do that if we are going through something ourselves, or maybe something is happening in the relationship. You're going through a stressful time. It gets tough sometimes. And that's what I'd like to talk about on this show. The times where we feel challenged, the times where we are not sure what the hell is going on, and we might be questioning if we are worthy or made to be in love. Are we meant to be not only in love, but in this relationship? We might start questioning things because maybe we feel alone. Maybe we don't know that these types of things are totally normal. Or any couple who has been together for a long time, especially if you've made a point to stay connected and communicating and intimate, there will be roadblocks. There will be times where we are faced with our own stuff coming up, or maybe we are noticing something in our partner. There are times that are just very challenging while we are in a long-term relationship. I believe it's important to know that you are not alone. You are not wrong. You're not broken. There's nothing going on with you that keeps you from being in a relationship or in love. None of us are broken that way. We just have stuff that has happened to us, stuff that we have learned as we have grown up, belief systems that we have created from the time we were very small until now. And sometimes those belief systems can be so hardwired into us and also holding us back from loving somebody fully, from being loved, and from experiencing love in a deep way. I am your host, Kelby Lauren. I am a self-love and relationship coach. I work with singles. I work with people who are in relationships on their own. I work with couples together. And all of the topics that I cover on this show are things that I have helped my clients go through. And some of it is even from my personal life. I have been in a relationship for 7 years. And so a lot of this stuff is, I've actually tested it out and I've experienced it myself, not just my clients. The thing is, a lot of us are having similar experiences. So that's why I want to talk about that here. So maybe people can feel like they're not alone. They're not crazy. They're not strange. This is just what being in a relationship is like. It is Halloween time right now, so I figured we would do a spookier episode. We're going to talk about breakups, and we're going to talk about why they are so painful and also how you can support yourself to move through a breakup and come out on the other side. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got kind of a spookier setup that I'm working with today. It's kind of dark in my office, and I also got a new camera, so hopefully you can tell the difference from my past videos. So let's get into it. Breakups. Why are they so painful? Now, there are some disclaimers that I will say before we get into the meat of today's topic. I want to talk about some general ideas that will lead us into the topic. All breakups are different. No breakup is like another one. We can't really compare our breakup experience with anybody else's or within our own life. Different breakups happen in different ways. They feel different. There may have been breakups that were very easy to move through for you. I know I've experienced that, where the breakup happens and there's not a whole lot of sadness. And yet, there are those other ones that linger. The pain stays so heavy on us. It could be that we were broken up with and we didn't expect it. We had visions of grandeur about that relationship, so the breakup felt out of nowhere, where maybe we were blindsided. It can even be painful when you are the one to break things off. You might be in love with somebody and know deep down that you do not fit well together. You don't belong together. And so for whatever reason, you do go and break it off. That can be painful too. So it's not just about who's doing the breaking up that makes it more or less painful, although maybe there is a tendency for being broken up with to hurt more. In today's episode, I'm just going to talk about breakups in a general sense, assuming that either you were broken up with or you broke up. Breakups hurt either way. And sometimes it can take a very long time to get over a certain person. Breakups that might happen in more traumatic ways might stick with us a little longer. I think anybody who's listening to this show right now can relate to that one breakup that really broke your heart and left you with a lot of pain and time that was needed in order to bounce back. I do think breakups are more difficult when you have that kind of awkward period that you're still talking for whatever reason. I've experienced that with a couple of my past relationships where we tried to stay friends or we kept in touch for whatever reason, and that always made things even more difficult. I'm not vouching against or for that. I just know that that can also prolong the healing period in a lot of cases. So if you've ever experienced that, maybe you know what that feels like. You're just kind of dragging things out and elongating the inevitable, which is that you guys will probably not speak. But some exes do become friends. So I don't want to make too much of a blanket statement, but for the most part, it will be difficult in some way to continue communicating with each other. Let's get into the 5 reasons why breakups are so difficult. This is not a comprehensive list of every single possible answer to this question. This is what I have noticed in my work, in myself, and in friends, family, stories. So I'm compiling all of my current knowledge together to create this list. And the first item is that we wrap our sense of self in the other person in our relationship. So in our partner, we wrap up our entire identity a lot of the time if we're not being aware and noticing that we are essentially becoming codependent on each other. It's this idea that we have sort of lost any sense of independence. For whatever reason, there could be many reasons why you begin to wrap your sense of self in someone else. Maybe you feel insecure, or your life is not going as planned. You are going through an emotionally intense period of time. Anytime that you might need that sense of safety, of security, feeling like we can relate ourselves to somebody else and always be kind of enmeshed with this other person can create a false sense of security, like a safety blanket that you cannot let go of. You may have heard somebody say, I lost myself in that relationship. I lost myself in him or her. That's what we're getting at here. We lose our sense of self. We may even completely forget that we are 2 separate individuals. We're 2 totally different people with different views of the world, with different ways that we were brought up, different ideas about the world, different expectations and desires. 2 totally separate people. And yet sometimes it can feel like we are very tied up to our partner. And that can create a sense of strain, but it also is isolating. We begin to feel like we can't be away from this person for too long. We feel like we can't have fun without them. We can't have a good time. We might feel like something is missing when that person isn't around. There are a lot of ways that this specific idea can show up in your life. And the hard part about this is I think when we are wrapped up so tightly in our partner, we will also be doing this thing where we are comparing ourselves to them, or we're seeing if we measure up to them. So am I good enough for this person? Am I strong enough? Am I smart enough? Look at them. They're doing more with their job and I'm just here. And so we tend to do this thing where we will actually compare ourselves and feel almost competitive with our partner, which is very tricky. It's hard to be competitive with your partner and also feel a safe sense of vulnerability with them in your emotions. When we break up and we have been so used to being wrapped up with this person, not having our own identity, not making sure to maintain our independence and our separateness, and then we break up, that's really hard. You could see why. It's very stark and it could be shocking to the system when you're now pulling away from that person. You're having to pull yourself out of an entire life that you constructed that usually included your partner. 95% of the time, your partner was there. Now here you are, and you're having to possibly make new friends. You might need to get a new job if you had to move at any point. You are probably starting your life over in a way and having to fill that life if you are wanting to stay happy and active while you are single, then you're probably going to have to find new things to fill your life. You might need to find clubs, might need to go to a new gym if your ex goes there. You are basically taking your life from, hey, I'm in a relationship, I am very close and wrapped up with this person, and then I'm having that stripped away, a blank canvas, and now we're going to have to create and dream up a whole new life, which can be exciting in a way, especially if the relationship was suffocating to you or was limiting you in any sense. Then it can be a relief, but it can also be quite a shock to the system. And I will say, even if your breakup was a relief and now you are excited to refill your life with things that you love, there still could be a sense of grief of a life that you were living before and letting that go. And maybe there's some kind of fear or just excitement for this new life to come in. And so there could still be a period of pain or at least heightened emotions, even if the breakup is kind of a relief for you. Another thing that makes breakups really painful is that a lot of the time we are responding to heartbreak from a part of us that is still a child, our inner child, so they say. And this part of us was hurt in some way during childhood, could be anywhere from 3, 4, or 5 up to teens and early 20s. And even just particularly hard breakups from the past, even if we were older or grown, we still could have learned something about ourselves that wasn't true, aka conditioning. We could have been conditioned by just a breakup that was really tough. That conditioning that is telling us a lie about ourselves, such as I am not good enough, I don't deserve to be loved, I am not worthy of somebody sticking around for me. These are examples of belief systems that we will save into our system as a result of conditioning. When we are hurt by an ex-partner in such a way that resembles what we experienced in our childhood, maybe we had a parent who left, maybe we had a mother who didn't approve of us, maybe we had a difficult relationship with one or both of our parents. And so if we are heartbroken in that way by an ex-partner, which will happen actually quite a lot if you look at some of your breakups, particularly the harder ones, and just notice if anything was similar about your relationship with your parents. That is usually the case. In fact, in the book, Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix, he talks about how the deepest heartbreaks in our entire life will happen because we were triggered, we were wounded in a similar way as we were in our childhood. So in a sense, that breakup would be opening a wound for us. And so, yeah, That's painful. It's a reminder of our deepest insecurities about ourselves, the things that we might try to hide from the world. A breakup will ignite in us sometimes. Sometimes in a breakup, things get so messy and so painful that we are pulled deeper into the illusion, the lie of that belief that I am not good enough, I am not worthy. It's like a final stab to the heart that a lot of the times we are unwittingly inflicting on ourselves. Speaking of illusions, which are very common in relationships, we see what we want to see, we hear what we want to hear. And I'm talking about even the shitty stuff. We want to get ourselves triggered a lot of the time in a relationship so that we can actually fix that thing that's happening. But that's a topic for another day, and I have covered that in my podcast before. So this illusion of our beliefs about ourselves is very strong when we're in a relationship and when we're not as well. Our structure of how we think about ourselves, well, whether it's positive or negative, will certainly affect our relationship. Another illusion that we might create around the relationship is that everything is wonderful and perfect and everything is great. I love this person. We're going to be together forever. There's nothing wrong that they could ever do. Even if we know that our relationship is toxic, it's not good for us. It's not working. We don't feel good about ourselves in this relationship. There could be the denial of, well, we've been together this long, so we have to stay together. That's an illusion. We have to stay together because we've been together for 10, 15, 20 years. Is that true? Is it true that you have to stay together because you have been together for a certain period of time? I don't think so. So we build these illusions of grandeur, these ideas of what our relationship could be. We might get overly invested in the potential for a relationship and feeding ourselves these ideas of, well, yeah, he's definitely going to stay and he definitely wants to be around and everything is fine. And in the end, it is detrimental to us because once we break up, we are forced to sometimes look at reality, what the relationship really was. Sometimes it takes time to get there and be able to look back and go, shit, I thought it was, the best thing ever. And in reality, I felt very small. I felt very on edge all the time. I couldn't trust them, whatever the case is. In a sense, we've lost this fantasy that we were living in about our relationship that may or may not have been true at any point. It's usually not true. The fantasy world that we fabricate and decide to dwell in. Everything's fine, everything's great. And it's really not sometimes. Reason number 4. I haven't been using numbers before this. I apologize, but we are on number 4. Sometimes when we break up with somebody or we are broken up with, we have a lot of regrets of what I should have done, what I could have done, what I wish I never did. Sometimes we are thinking, well, what if? If you broke up with the person, there could be that part of you that's second guessing and going, oh, what if we stayed together? And what could we have done together if I would have stayed? If we're holding on to guilt, it can be extra hard to move on from someone. Usually guilt is a heavier emotion and shame and regret. They weigh us down and make it harder to move through the emotions of a breakup because we are clinging so much to the guilt and the idea that we did something wrong. You could never do anything wrong, in my belief. Everything happens perfectly as it should. And so if you break up with somebody, why not just trust your intuition that this is the right move? It's funny how some people break up and get back together. I've seen that happen in several couples, some of who are married now. They broke up and then they got back together and they were great. And so there's no rule too about you broke up and you'll never be together again. But a lot of the time when a breakup happens, it was meant to be. Those people were supposed to move on and find somebody who was on their wavelength. Reason number 5, the final reason why breakups can be so painful is that we have to go through all of the emotions. There are phases, just like when you're processing the death of somebody, when you are processing any kind of major traumatic or intense life event, there are phases of emotions. You may have heard them before. Those phases are usually something like shock, denial, anger, sadness, and finally acceptance. But that doesn't mean that's how it looks for everyone all the time. That's just an example and a way of demonstrating that there will be these different stages. After you go through a breakup and you are processing everything that happened, not just during the breakup, but during your relationship, everything that you experienced, all of the ways you learned and grew, and the person you became on the other side of that relationship, whether it was good or bad. Depending on the breakup, it can take a good amount of time. It can be difficult to be with these emotions for an extended period of time. Sometimes it takes 6 months, a year, over a year, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. I've heard of some people still grieving their relationship at that point. And that's not abnormal, in my opinion. In fact, I would say that we carry some amount of grief or emotion from all of our breakups, if not just a shred. We are not robots. We don't clear our consciousness like a computer and reset back to zero once we're breaking up with. We hold on to things. We are like sponges. And so I think there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of sadness from each of your breakups, and also having gratitude for what you experienced in those relationships and what it gave to you to be with that person. Your current partner can thank the exes that you have had, because you have become the person you are today with their help. When we experience the emotions of a breakup, all of those different phases, we are learning and we are processing. This is an active period for us. We're shedding layers of emotion, and it is a process that takes time. Just because it takes time doesn't mean that there aren't certain things you can do actively to help yourself release that person. And that's what I want to get into for the second half of this episode. How can you help yourself in moving forward and moving through a breakup after it has happened? I'm going to share with you the first 2 points, which to me would be the most important steps for moving through a breakup. And the first point is time, which I was just talking about, so I won't harp on this too long. But breakups, they take time to process, just like death. Just like anything else in life that is very intense, they take time. And so I would love to give you some magical advice so that you can go and just immediately shed your breakup grief and stress and pain. But that's just not an option. I think the point of a breakup and the process of being with those emotions and expressing them and letting them pass through, it has a purpose. There's a reason why we go through that phase of intense emotion. And it's not just because we're weak or there's something wrong with us. It's because you're a human being. And when human beings experience intense things, emotions happen. And that is okay. It's okay to mourn a relationship, the death of a relationship. We have a lot of deaths in our lives, not just death of a person, literal. Different parts of ourself die throughout our entire life, and that's triggered by life events. It's triggered by just doing self-help work and reflecting internally. We can shed and keep shedding these layers of ourselves throughout our entire life, constantly becoming a new person. And so when we go through these processes that feel very difficult, there's always a purpose, a deeper meaning, and a deeper need for the expression of those emotions, the experience of those emotions, and what each one is teaching us about ourselves. So that is the first thing to help you through a breakup, is time. I know that sounds too simple or maybe frustrating, because it's like, well, the whole point is that I want to learn something I can do to speed this up. And what I would say to that is change that is worth it doesn't happen overnight. We can't just force ourselves to do these things. Like I said earlier, we're not AI, we're human beings with real feelings. And so the second step to supporting yourself through a breakup is being aware of where you're at in the process. Now, this one could take some experience that you might not have if you haven't ever gone through a meditation or some kind of mindfulness exercise where we are actually bringing the focus into the body and noticing what we're feeling. You've felt this before. No matter if you've done anything like that, you've felt it before because you've had a stomach ache, you've had a headache, you've had neck pain, which I do right now. So your body is telling you things all the time. Being aware of our emotions is kind of a different story. It does require a little bit more subtle of an awareness. The cues are a little bit more subtle, but you can always start with how your physical life is going right now. Are you being on the active side? Are you moving your body? Are you enjoying your job? Do you get home and you're in a crabby mood? Do you feel sluggish? Do you feel like just shutting yourself away? Or are you having a lot of energy these days, this month, this week? Are you feeling like you want to move around a lot and be out with people? These cues can show us where we are emotionally, these physical cues from our life. And we can also bring our awareness into the body and actually feel what the emotion is. And there is a lot there. As a coach, and maybe there are therapists who use that kind of work as well, where I would be helping my client to read into their own body and be with the sensations and to build the awareness of our own emotions, what we are currently feeling. That's a pretty great skill to have. It's an underrated thing to be able to do, is to actually understand how you're feeling and describe it. A lot of us are stunted as children in identifying what we feel and expressing that because somebody was maybe telling us or demonstrating to us that that emotion was not okay. We weren't allowed to have feelings. There was no room for feelings. Things like that can lead to us actually not being able to understand, how do I feel right now? We may have a huge layer of numbness that keeps us from feeling. And so being able to know where you are in the process helps with patience too. Oh, I'm sad today. I've thought about him or her, 10 times today. And we can always go in and see, oh, I'm not thinking about him as much. I'm not dreaming about her like I was. And keeping tabs on our progress as we slowly let go of somebody. And I want to remind you that time is the biggest factor in letting go of somebody. But like I said, there are other ways to move our energy along and to support ourselves in releasing people. And so I will share a few of those strategies as well, and you can try them out on your own. See if they feel good, see if they work for you. Everybody's different. I encourage you to use your intuition around what you would like to try when it comes to letting somebody go. My first piece of advice is to connect with family or friends that you may have isolated yourself from while you were in this relationship. Maybe it was kind of abusive or emotionally volatile or something going on there that you felt you could reach out to friends less and family. And so let's reconnect with them. Let's go hang out with the girls or with the guys if you're a man listening, and get back with my feminine or masculine roots and just feel into that for now, feel supported by those people, by my family, and potentially rebuild those relationships if they crumbled while you were in this relationship. I would also recommend meditating, journaling, self-reflecting, and writing down what's coming up for you. What are you realizing? What are you feeling? What's been the hardest part? What's been the best part? There probably are a lot of good prompts that you can look up on ChatGPT or Google and find out some questions that could help you in processing what you experienced with that person. This is a great way to stay in tune with where you are day to day. After something like this happens that is very intense for the nervous system and our emotions, it can be helpful to keep a finger on the pulse of our daily feelings. Today, I'm feeling sluggish and down on myself, and tomorrow I might be feeling energetic and optimistic. It can change day to day. So, journaling and reflecting, being with our emotions on a day-to-day basis, knowing too that none of them will be permanent. No emotion is permanent and stays in our system forever. We move through our emotions and we feel different things even throughout the day. Meditating and journaling on that can help you also to have a reference point to come back to. Look at how down I was just 3 months ago. I was crying every day. I could barely get out of bed. And now, today, I am going to the gym. I've gone out with friends several times. I really feel like my energy is building. So it can be really helpful to go back and see where you have come from. I always recommend movement of the body when we are releasing anything intense. That could be working out. That could be taking a walk. That could be dancing. That could be even shaking. So shaking the body like a dog would shake off water. It helps us to release any excess energy that is clogging the system. You can simply shake and make some sound, breathe a little. Maybe you felt that before where you were able to give yourself a shake and feel a little refreshed from that. So can you shake and actually feel like you're shaking off the energy of this relationship and letting it go into the wind and allowing it to be absorbed by the earth and not by you? If you are into the spiritual side of things, there are a lot of meditations and body-related practices that you could probably find online. I was taught by Layla Martin. She's got great YouTube videos. She probably has a breakup meditation on her channel. And so there are actual staged processes that you can do, and you'll move through probably some meditation, some kind of mindful movement. You might do some kind of mantra or checking in with the chakras. And so that can also help you to move through these harsh emotions. I definitely recommend, whether you're spiritual or not, scientifically, it's been shown that just having an intention, something that we are focused on achieving while we meditate, while we walk, while we do anything at all, really, just live our lives with this intention of, I am going to move through this. I am going to shake this person off. Time heals all things, and therefore it is inevitable that I will move through this breakup, and it will not be forever that I feel this way. You don't have to be spiritual to hold an intention, to hold a purpose in your daily life. And so bringing that in when we're going through something particularly traumatic and intense can be very helpful. A reminder of, what am I here to do? What am I here for? Am I here to experience fun and play? Am I here to develop my intellect, to do research and discover something new, to express my opinion and my voice? What is your purpose? What is the intention that's going to help you like a North Star while you move through the darkness of post-breakup emotions? What is going to be your light at the end of the tunnel? And I'll tell you that it is helpful if that light is something that you want to feel, something that you want to become in your life, despite going through this painful experience. If you have gone through all of these steps and time has passed, you're having a hard time still, even if it's a fresh breakup, you can always turn to a coach like myself or a therapist, somebody that can help you to get through the darker days of your breakup and also your better days, so you can remember what it feels like to be post-breakup and feeling pretty good about yourself. Somebody that can hold the torch and guide you back to yourself. Yes, you can do that on your own. There are a lot of things that we can do by ourselves in order to facilitate a feeling of coming home, of creating peace, creating self-acceptance. And there are professionals who have been trained to help you do that, to help you listen to yourself, to understand yourself at a deeper level. As you get towards the end of your processing of your breakup, can we start to bring in some gratitude for whatever this relationship gave to you? Every relationship has a gift within it, whether it was the person themselves that loved you in such a way that treated you with a certain amount of respect or regard, or maybe they were not so kind to you and you learned that you weren't willing to deal with that and you moved on to bigger and better things. Maybe the gift there is that you were shown and you were given the opportunity to make the choice to stand up for yourself and for what your life could become. All relationships have some kind of a gift, something that we learned, something that we appreciate that can help us to associate that memory of that relationship with something more positive. And so it's not bringing us stress for a prolonged period of time. So the way that you could do this is that you have a negative thought about a past relationship, and for every negative thought you think of two things that were positive, that you learned, that you gained from being in that relationship, or maybe from the breakup itself. I've heard of some breakups being like escaping from prison. So a breakup isn't always a bad thing. Breakup can sometimes be a calling for us to show up in a bigger and better way, to feel good about ourselves, to feel supported, respected, seen, understood by somebody else. Not that person. That is that on breakups. So I hope if you are going through one currently and listening to this, I hope that this was helpful. Just to know too that you're not alone. A lot of people right now have gone through a breakup recently, and I have gone through them in the past. Everybody I know has gone through them. They're very normal in the human experience, and yet they can hurt like hell for the reasons that I described today. So please know that there's nothing wrong with you. You might just need some time to figure things out, and things won't always be this way. Things will get better. Time has a way of doing that for us. Thank you, time. I love time. It's always been the best supplement to pain, in my experience. If you enjoyed this show and you're watching on YouTube, I would appreciate the subscribe. And if you could like the video too, that would be great. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can go ahead and give me a rating and tell me what you think about this show. I am also available. You can also reach me on social media. I am on Instagram at Coached by Kelby, also on TikTok with that same handle. And if you'd like to shoot me an email with a potential idea for an episode, a question you might have that you want to ask that I will answer anonymously on the show, you can email me, coachedbykelby@gmail.com. Either way, I appreciate you listening and sticking around until the end of this episode where we talked about breakups. And I hope that you're having a wonderful Halloween season, fall season. So many holidays going on right now. Such a fun time of year. I love it. That's why I changed up my lighting to be a little more spooky. I will see you guys next time on Love Under the Scope.